Would some grandparents be jerks if they missed their granddaughter's 3rd birthday party? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk, 23-year-old female, for asking my partner, 27-year-old male, to tell his friends to leave house party? I'll try and be concise. The party was originally planned as a housewarming, but my friends couldn't make it, so it was just my partner's friends who were coming. Guests here from 6 p.m. I provided all of the food, drink, and worked hard on making the lounge a comfortable environment and sourcing plenty seats. For context, I work night shifts, and in the last 48 hours, I've worked a night shift and had one nap between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on the day of the party. Bearing in mind, I went straight from my night shift to the store to buy all of the supplies. Fast forward, it's now 1 a.m., and I figured it's been a fair while, everyone had a blast, I think it's time to call it a night. Asked my partner in private, who responded with, "I can't kick them out. Do you know how bad that would be for me?" Now, I support him, and I know how it feels to be insecure around your friends if you don't see them often, especially as adults, so I let it slide and wait. It's now 2:30 a.m. and my partner has ordered more food, which means they'll be staying for even longer. I am at the end of my tether now, running on 2 hours sleep, having put in all the effort, and just to add insult to injury, none of the guests thanked me, greeted me, or appreciated the work I put in. I then learned that they'd been taking coke in my bathroom, and now I'm so upset. My partner sees no problem and is getting upset with me now. Am I the jerk? Update: thanks everyone for helping me see sense. It was happening live, so I couldn't reply to everyone, but I'd gone through to bed around 11 p.m. But with the way our home is laid out, there's not a lot of soundproofing from the main area to the bedroom. I'm not precious. I'm quite capable of sleeping if there isn't mountains of noise. At 3:45 a.m., I flipped and went through and kicked them out. Not very gracious, but I think I'm allowed a crazy moment given I had no sleep. Partner said that I embarrassed him and interrupted their fun game. Partner will be moving out in the coming weeks. Thanks everyone. Call OP Rodney Dangerfield because they ain't getting no respect. I think that reference also just aged me another 30 years. I think it's a pretty safe bet that OP's not the jerk here, especially if you're just not comfortable with the idea of people doing dergs in your bathroom. You know, the old sniffy dust and whatnot. Quiet SA9268 commented, "Not the jerk. You've been more than generous with both time and provisions. Your partner has disrespected you and your efforts by allowing this fiasco to continue for over 6 hours, exposing you to possible felony charges, and just generally being a jerk. If he is this insecure around his friends, he doesn't have friends and he does not deserve you." Olivia M. Rowe commented, "Yeah, wow, talk about burying the lead there. Holy crap. How has this guy manipulated OP into thinking she might be the jerk for wanting his friends to leave at 1:30 a.m. when they've been doing coke in her bathroom and he knows about it and doesn't care about it or about how she feels about it? Not the jerk, but OP should throw the whole man in the bin. That is not a keeper." So I missed the sniffy dust in my first read-through, but I guess I'll still drop my nearly foolproof way to end a party at mine for any readers who might find it useful. You just stand up and say, "Okay folks, I appreciate you all staying back to help clean up. Who wants that first shift with the dishes?" or equivalent chore. If you have guests actually worth inviting over in the first place, they'll either take the hint and they'll leave, or they'll help clean up, or do a little cleaning and then leave. It's a win-win. If you have terrible guests like OP's, hopefully soon-to-be ex's friends, who don't care in the least about your feelings or basic etiquette, well, probably not going to be so useful. Sorry. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for giving my family a reverse discount when they want art? I sell art commissions, and my friends regularly commission me, often paying just $5 for their first piece as a discount. This mostly applies to in-person commissions with people I'm close to. They're generally okay with paying, and sometimes they even offer a little extra. However, my parents and brother disapprove of me charging for art, especially when it's people I know. They often say things like, "They're your friends, they shouldn't have to pay you," or "It doesn't take that long to draw something." My brother has even told me, "Your art isn't worth anything." They use examples of me drawing free art for birthdays, holidays, and other occasions as proof that I don't need to charge for my work. They also point to instances where I've drawn for friends or family out of my own desire, or for young relatives who can't afford to pay, saying this means I shouldn't charge anyone. After hearing these comments, I started offering my art for free, partly to avoid conflict, and partly because I began to doubt myself. Technically, my work doesn't take that long, about 10 hours on average over 2 to 5 days. I've done free work before, like creating logos for the library and posters for school clubs. And while I didn't always expect payment, it would have been nice. On their side, my family argues that art should be something you do out of passion, not for profit, especially when it involves people you care about. They believe that because I'm close to these people, I should be happy to create something for them without expecting anything in return. They also think that by charging, I'm potentially damaging relationships, making them feel like they're being treated as clients rather than loved ones. The problem escalated when they started asking for more complex, full-shaded pieces, which take longer, up to 40 hours over 2 weeks. Some even asked me to redo entire pieces or remove my watermark because it doesn't look good. They rarely credited me for my work, and when I asked, they dismissed it as unimportant. After some reflection, I decided I was done with giving away free art to people who didn't appreciate it. I increased my prices for those who had complained about paying, adding a 25% surcharge. For example, a headshot sketch that was $8 became $10, and a full-body, fully shaded piece went from $45 to $56.25. These family members quickly noticed the price increase and were offended when I told them they had to pay or get nothing. They argued that if they had to pay more, so should my friends, but I kept the original prices for those who hadn't complained. My brother called me a greedy bench, and honestly I couldn't give two craps what he thinks, but it still hurts. But I've stuck to my decision and refused to draw for those who treated me poorly, though it has affected my motivation. Am I the jerk? Doing really any kind of creative work like art or even like video editing is something that so many people think so little of when it comes to actual commission prices. I've been very involved in game development for an MMO game, and through that I meet a lot of artists, and you can see kind of firsthand how these people who are super talented and can make some awesome stuff have people that approach them with these assumptions that they'll do this stuff for so cheap. I mean, I've known some extremely talented artists, and I would never have been able to bring myself to try to ask for some kind of free gift. People with incredible talents like that deserve to be paid what they're worth. Own Kangaroo 6931 commented, "Not the jerk for your decision, but holy hex are you a jerk to yourself." What? Have you even looked at what artists charge for commissions? I mean, I don't know how good your art actually is, but I'm expecting to pay $200 for a drawing of my cat and even $80 for a sketch of my D&D character. You are massively, massively undervaluing yourself. Please, look up some other artists and pass on their rates to the people who are moaning. Seriously, $5 for a commission? What? My mind is blown, and then offering for free? Seriously, what the freak? Edit to add, I just saw the part about a full-body shaded piece. That should be upwards of $400. People need to value artists for freak's sake. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my best friend he's starting to sound like his dad? My 30-year-old male best friend Jack, 30, and I have known each other since we were 12. His son Ed, 10 years old, is like a nephew to me. The kid even calls me uncle. Now, Jack was venting to me about how he and his wife couldn't get Ed to read. I thought about it for a while. The kid likes spy movies, watched each of the Mission Impossible films more times than we can count. So I bought him a novel about a 12-year-old being recruited by the CIA and trained at a spy academy for talented kids. It got his interest and he's reading the book right now, but Jack says I shouldn't have gotten him something with such a ludicrous, far-fetched plot. I told him it's entertaining because of the ludicrous plot, and you need the kid to enjoy reading first before he'll start reading more serious stuff. Jack thinks reading silly books is pointless. So I told him that sounds like something his dad would say. He immediately bristled at that and said I shouldn't compare him to the man since I know how complicated the relationship is. Jack's dad is a doctor who constantly pressured him to read only science books and spent years trying to get him to want to go to medical school. Didn't allow him to read fantasy novels when we were kids since they were unscientific. I don't really think Opie's the jerk, but I do think that there's maybe some kind of small apology warranted for making that reference. More of a, not an apology for what you did and what you're kind of trying to communicate, but more of a, I hear you on that, I'm going to respect that going forward. I apologize for how I made you feel with that. I hope what I was trying to get across got across. That said, I personally completely agree with OP here. I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm not a reader myself. I haven't really read stuff since school. I probably haven't even legitimately read a book since middle school. The last thing I can truly remember reading and tearing my eyes out over was The Scarlet Letter. There's definitely some solid themes and things to look on in that book, but man, I could not convince myself to read another page of that thing. That's to be said that I do think you need to capture kids' interests and imaginations in reading, and that will hopefully serve to inspire them to want to read even more. And hopefully branching out not just imaginative, crazy, or silly stories, but things they want to learn about, or they're curious about. Now they have that platform and that familiarity with it, right? Dinah Felice commented, "I know you were uncomfortable with the comparison I made the other day, but let me explain why I made it. You would express concern about Ed not reading, so I thought about his interests and found a book I thought he would connect with, and I was right. This book was interesting to him. I expected you to be happy both that he was reading and that we found a subject that interested him that we can use as an avenue to get to know him better. But all you could focus on was the fact that the book wasn't perfectly realistic. So what? Fiction is a major pastime across all cultures. Which means you didn't learn to have an issue with it from our culture overall, and the person you probably learned it from is not someone you would want to emulate. Not the jerk. Your friend is being dismissive of his son's interests, and it's concerning that he might not recognize the similarity to his own father's dismissiveness. Even though the comparison may have hurt, you were being a good friend and a good uncle by pointing it out. While your friend comes to terms with what you said, may I recommend the nonfiction book The Master of Disguise, My Secret Life in the CIA by Antonio Mendez, the real-life CIA agent the movie Argo was based on. The book is incredibly exciting and I think your nephew would adore it. There is a bunch of real science and history in it, so your friend can't object, and maybe it will teach him that real life can be far-fetched too. I kid you not when I tell you that the Argo mission was the least interesting chapter in the book. Fabulous Blabber 1580 commented, "Putting that on my to-be-read list, TY, you did good. When my oldest nephew was having trouble reading, to start with, I got him comic books and we would trade reading aloud pages. That led discussion on how I read the pages in conversations. He liked my emphasis on situations, to punctuation shows and can change the meaning and emphasis, so it got even better. Once he could read well enough, we moved on to novels such as Call of the Wild. A different nephew was having issues later, but he liked ghosts and cryptids, so I got him an entire encyclopedia set of that with more reading aloud. Both learn to read well, even if they don't love it like I do. Reading should be a fun and educational exercise, but someone will only enjoy reading if it appeals to them at the beginning with something that catches their interest." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not inviting my stepmom to my wedding? My fiancé, 25-year-old female, and I, 24-year-old female, have been together for the last 9 years. High school sweethearts. She had proposed to me 2 years ago, but we've had to continuously push the wedding back because of financial issues. Finally, we were able to pay and plan everything for October 27th of this year, and sent the invitations out July 14th. I have had low contact with my father's side of the family since I was 16 and he kicked me out, then replacing me with his now wife. I had only seen him over summers up until I was 19 when I stopped seeing him altogether, except for a couple of short weekend visits here and there. Needless to say, my relationship with him and my stepmother is strained and uncomfortable. My stepmother and I would constantly butt heads, and she was unnecessarily cruel to both me and my younger brother, 19-year-old male, though he continues to live with them now. When I was 18, they had another kid together, which is the main reason I stopped visiting. Now, the problem escalates even further with the way my stepmother treats my fiancé. My fiancé is Mexican, and combined with us being queer, she has been nothing but nasty with the both of us, but especially her. It came down to the fact of she could not be around my fiancé, and with the way she treats both her and myself, I didn't send an invitation for her to our wedding, only my father and brother, telling them I would love for my sister, now 6, to be a flower girl of sorts. A few days after the invitation arrived, I get a nasty call from my stepmother about how I purposely excluded her to make her feel bad. And my dad backed her up, saying that since I invited my stepfather, she needed to be there too, and that if she couldn't come, he wouldn't either. I tried to reason with my dad, but he insisted that she had to come and how I was such a terrible daughter for excluding the woman he loves, and he even got most of his side of the family to back them up as well. My fiancé has insisted that I'm not at fault, and that I should just let them not come, but I want my family. She has a huge family and they're all supportive, so I don't expect her to understand. But I really want my dad. I want him to walk me down the aisle. I want him to dance with me, and I want my sister in the wedding too. I don't think OP's the jerk for not inviting them. Realistically, I think if there's any chance that it's going to affect how you feel or how your wedding goes, I think you're completely in the right for choosing yourself at your wedding and the experience you're going to have. I just think OP's extremely valid here. Sad Currency 3235 commented, "Not the jerk, do not invite her. She is manipulating people into forcing you to invite her, making your wedding about her. How do you think she's going to behave during the wedding?" As queer people, this is a disappointment we have to face way too often, but the truth is, anyone who doesn't accept you and the person you love as a couple shouldn't be a part of your special day. That might mean that you don't get to have all of your family there, or not have your father walking you down the aisle. But it's ultimately far better for you to not allow people who treat you poorly to have such a large role in your life. There is absolutely nothing wrong with only wanting people who are happy for you being there. Hope you have a lovely wedding. LabInner262 commented, "Let me echo this loudly, and I'd like to add that this is true for non-queer people too. I speak from experience here. Invite those who will love and support you. Let others fall by the wayside. Look at the messages you receive from extended family and decide whom you want to block from your life then. Personally, I'd go ahead and block stepmom from all social media now, and make sure to password protect all arrangements for your wedding. I hope that you and your intended have a glorious day and a long, happy marriage." This next story is, "Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend I don't want to hang around his sister and that I don't like her? My boyfriend, his sister, and I all went to the same high school. His sister had a horrible reputation because of her actions. She was known as a bop, someone that would try to take your man and cheat, etc. And it's true, multiple of her friends stopped talking to her because she flirted with their boyfriends, and she also cheated on multiple of her boyfriends. She basically had no friends and had a terrible reputation because of it. We're in college now, but I'm wary of her because of how she was. My boyfriend and I talked about it, and he said those were hateful rumors, that people made up crap about her because they didn't like her and ruined her reputation. I know this wasn't true, but I didn't want to get into it because his sister hangs out and comes over often. One night she came over and I mentioned the high school days. I was telling her fun stories and she was talking about how she had no friends. We were really high, but I was surprised when she said it was her fault. She said she craved male attention and betrayed a lot of friends and partners because of it. She said she lies to people and says it was lies, but it wasn't, and she did that. I was glad that she acknowledged it and said that she can be a better person now in college, and I told her to never betray her friends like that again. She said she wouldn't. She had no friends and was lonely, and she doesn't want to end up like that again. But anyway, I don't like her, but I'm fine with her and I don't mind when she comes over. My boyfriend and I are going out of state for the weekend, and he said we should bring his sister. I said I wasn't comfortable with that because I didn't trust her around my friends' boyfriends. She might say she's changed, but I don't know. My boyfriend said it was all lies and that she's a good person. I basically said sorry, but I don't like her and don't want her on my trip. He didn't seem super happy about it. Am I the jerk? All I can really say is I've seen more people say, listen, I don't want to ever go back to that way. I don't want to ever do that thing again. And probably just about the next day, they immediately go back to those behaviors or actions. I think it's fair for OP to feel the way they do, have the concerns they have, and also I think it's fair enough if they just don't want any specific person besides their partner going on a trip with them. Liddy Eastwood 805 commented, "Not the jerk. I'm not a gambling person. There's a chance she changed for the better, and I hope she has. But there's a chance she's going to screw someone's man and cause drama that will come back to you. OP, why'd you guys invite her? You want to roll the dice?" OP responded saying, "Yeah, exactly. Really good chance she'll try to get with my friends' boyfriends and then paint them like liars. It'll cause a ton of drama. She's already been jumped before by another girl for trying to get with her boyfriend. I don't need that energy at a hangout with friends, and they would be ticked at me if she pulled her old antics." This next story is, am I the jerk for seeing my girlfriend only when it's convenient? Girlfriend and I are in our early 20s and has been getting upset at me every time I say no to seeing her. She works long shifts 5 days a week, and I see her 3 to 4 days a week for maybe 2 hours after she gets home from work before she needs to fall asleep for the next day. She recently had a shift where she knew she was going to get out super late and asked if I was going to see her after she got home. I respond, if I'm awake by then, yeah, but no promises. She had gotten out of work at 12 o'clock and had an hour-and-a-half drive back home. She calls on her drive home while I'm asleep and asks with plenty of energy, "Are you coming over?" I explain that I'm really tired and I'll see her another day, and she gets really upset. She brings it up the next day that I only see her when it's convenient. I understand that there are sacrifices to be made in a relationship, but I feel that this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I enjoy seeing her, but why should I have to struggle to see her? Why do I have to struggle to see her just because she's got the energy? Am I the jerk? At least in the example OP provided, I don't think they're the jerk. I think it's going to be pretty unreasonable most times if you're on a relatively normal schedule for your partner to be hitting you up at 1:30 in the morning and saying, "Are you coming over?" It might be fun once in a while, but especially if you've got a normal job, you've got obligations, it might not be so bad in your early 20s, but shoot, by the time you get to your late 20s, you're kind of wanting that sleep. Lizzie commented, "Not the jerk. Going to see her at 1:30 a.m. when you've already been sleeping is impractical. I thought that this was going to be a story where you only like to see her when you can hook up, but that doesn't seem like the issue here at all." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to hold my girlfriend's hand at a funeral? Okay, so first of all, context. My girlfriend and I are both pretty close to Omar, 23-year-old male. I've known Omar considerably longer than Leah has, but they're also somewhat close. Omar's half-brother Khalid died recently. He was severely disabled and it wasn't a shock, but it did hit Omar really hard and he's been a wreck. It's hard seeing him like this, and about 5 of us are coming with him just for moral support. The funeral was on Friday. My girlfriend is a girl, and in Omar's culture, any kind of touching between boy and girl is frowned upon. Leah and I both knew this going in, but during the funeral, she did get a bit upset and wanted to hold hands or something to comfort herself. Leah didn't actually know Khalid, but she gets upset pretty easily, which is why I did previously suggest she didn't come. Omar is a guy, so hugging him was allowed, which I did a lot. Leah started sulking midway through the funeral, and I may have become more of a jerk here because I ignored her from then on and focused on Omar. Leah went home early and I stayed with Omar, lying and saying she had to go sort something out with her mom, and I went home later. Leah is mad at me, and she thinks I should have comforted her, but Omar was my priority. She said that she should always be my priority, but I disagree. Am I the jerk? I don't think I am, but I feel bad because even now her sadness is taking a backseat to my worry about Omar. Am I the jerk? Maybe OP could have gone out of their way to remind her that there's these rules that they want to try to follow out of respect. But ultimately, this is one of those situations where she really failed to read the room. You purposely went to this funeral to support and back up Omar. I get it was a lot for her. She started getting emotional. She wanted some support herself. But when it comes to whether or not you're upset with your partner, you do need to be able to rationalize the circumstances. Stark Cattiness 4433 commented, "All else being equal, she should be your priority, but Omar's needs was way greater than hers in that moment. So you rightly gave your attention to him, and you respect the traditions of people who are hosting the funeral. If she didn't want to respect the no-touching rule, she shouldn't have come. Not the jerk." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend that he's being close-minded? My boyfriend is currently unemployed but actively searching for a job. I try to help him by asking my friends if they can refer him somewhere, or by spending my own time looking for jobs on various job sites and company career pages. I'm the kind of person who believes in spam applying when it comes to job hunting. Of course, I can still check the basics like location, salary, benefits, and job description, but if I think I can handle the job, even if I don't meet the exact qualifications, like years of experience, I still apply, because I believe there's nothing to lose but everything to gain. After all, you're just sending a resume or answering some assessments. Aside from time, there's nothing really at stake. However, my boyfriend has the opposite mindset. He's in HR, so he says he understands how this works better than I do. He believes that qualifications are set for a reason and it's fair to follow them. I get that, but I still stand by my belief that there's nothing to lose. It's been almost 2 months since my boyfriend became unemployed, and responses to his applications have been slow. Sometimes I send him job postings that require more experience than he has, but it's usually just a 1-year difference. I feel like there's no harm in trying, plus I'm trying to broaden his opportunities because he has so many filters. He doesn't want to work in a BPO and he doesn't want an on-site job. We got into an argument about this because I was getting frustrated that he sticks to these rules so strictly as if he's the one setting them. So I ended up telling him that he's being too close-minded. Now he's not talking to me. I know I was harsh and I do feel guilty because I hurt him, but I still believe he needed to hear it. So am I the jerk for telling him that he's being too close-minded? I think as long as OP's still supporting them and what they do, I don't think OP's mindset about applying to jobs that maybe you don't necessarily apply for is all that bad of a mindset to have. I think a lot of people, even if they didn't exactly qualify for the job, have succeeded pretty well in the fake it till you make it category. Yeah, as long as the real support and love is still there, I don't think OP's the jerk. Asperatius commented, not the jerk. Asperatius commented, not the jerk. You have different views on job searching and not being reconciled. That doesn't make either of you a jerk. I happen to agree with you in that people should apply for jobs that they don't necessarily qualify for on paper, because I don't believe in giving up before the process even started. If the employer doesn't think I qualify for the position, they can very well reject me. On the other hand, if your boyfriend follows your advice and just happens to get interviewed for and then offered a position that he doesn't fundamentally believe he qualified for on paper, he might have imposter syndrome from day one that ends up preventing him from doing the best he can. Our next story is, am I the jerk for going to a school pool party with school theater friends that my girlfriend didn't want me to go to? My school theater group has a yearly pool party to kick off the school year, and I decided to go. My girlfriend got mad at me for going and said that she got uncomfortable because there would be girls in bathing suits there, and she didn't want them seeing me without a shirt. I get her thinking that, but I think it's a little ridiculous, especially since there will be parents there and my guy friends as well. I tried to tell her it would be okay, and now since I went, she's super upset at me. Am I a jerk? I really don't think OP's a jerk here. I think this is an open and shut case. Going to a pool party with your theater group doesn't mean that you're going to have this hookup session in the bathroom or something because, oh, I saw you without your shirt on. No, your school theater group has already done that all year already backstage before they got to the pool party. At least that's what I've heard about theater kids. Ohmsway71 commented, not the jerk. Your girlfriend is super insecure. If you plan to stay with her, you can try to tell her that you're not someone who believes that men cannot control themselves when they see skin. People can wear what they want, and when swimming was involved, bathing suits are worn. This is normal. You're going to go and continue to be around events that might have more skin showing than she would like, but the only person you see that way is her, ever. Everyone else is just background to how she lights up every room she enters. When she's not there, it might as well be an event full of cousins because she is the only beauty in your life. You are not missing fun, but you will never disrespect her or even entertain a flirtation with anyone else. You have no desire to. Kiss her and hug her and tell her how amazing she is, but don't give in. It is unreasonable and it is controlling. This next story is, am I the jerk for missing our granddaughter's third birthday party? My wife and I recently were told by our son and daughter-in-law when our second granddaughter's third birthday party would be. We were not asked if we were available that date before they made the plans. When they told us the date, we told them we had plans, but that we would attempt to change them. Our plans were for dinner with 6 friends who we were going to be traveling with on a vacation 2 weeks later. We were the ones that had made all of the preliminary plans for a house rental, car rental, dinner reservations, and so on. The dinner was scheduled for at our home with plans to go through schedules, activities, and everything else involved in the trip. Since we had made all of the preliminary plans, it was essential that we be at the dinner. Once we were aware of the conflict, we tried to change the date, but there were literally no other dates prior to our vacation departure that the 4 couples could all make it. Had we been aware of the date when they were making the plans, the date would have been available, and we would have committed to the birthday party. We had booked our plans with friends a couple weeks prior to being told about the birthday plans. They planned the birthday for a Saturday and a baptism for granddaughter number 3 on Sunday. We told our son and the daughter-in-law that we would leave at 4 a.m. on Sunday to get to the baptism in time on Sunday morning, and then stay the rest of the day and evening to celebrate granddaughter number 2's birthday. On Saturday, we sent a text to our son reconfirming the time and location of the baptism and our plans for the stay, even though they were aware for the past couple of weeks of our plans. We received a message back telling us, "Do not come tomorrow." Since that time, they've skipped their twice-a-week portal calls where we talk to the grandkids and read them some books. They also refused to let us talk to granddaughter number 2 on her actual birthday. We've always made it a point to drop everything to visit the kids and grandkids. We're 4+ hours away, and think of nothing to drive down early and return home that night. On one occasion, we drove the 4+ hours each way to watch a 20-minute dance recital. We really wanted to be at her party, but the other plans were made first, and we were not able to be changed. We were not asked in advance if the date had worked for us, but daughter-in-law's parents were, son and daughter-in-law's friends were, and priest was. We can understand the son and daughter-in-law being disappointed that we couldn't make it, but behaving as they are and using their kids against us, especially since we very, very rarely ever miss anything, seems completely inappropriate. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk. Maybe the loosest argument one could say is you should know that their birthday's coming up and be prepared or something. But I'm assuming that because this post is even being made, it's not exactly something that's taking place exactly on their birthday. And yeah, if you've got inflexible things that have been already scheduled for a while, you don't blow up your entire relationship because they can't make it. Or, cancel their plans with 4 other couples that they made so that they can make it. Active Anteater 1884 commented, "There's no easy way to say this. Your son is a moron. You are allowed to have a life. You sound like very involved grandparents. Have your son and daughter-in-law always been this unreasonable? Not the jerk." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.